In 1957, the United States witnessed the most deadly theater fire in history. An electrical short in the projection booth led to an all-consuming inferno that gutted the Edgemar Heights Theater in Flower Springs, Arkansas, and blasted through the auditorium and the people who were simply there to watch a showing of Alice in Wonderland. Hundreds of people were killed and injured, their lives destroyed, their bodies disfigured. And even then, I'm sure they still had a better time at the movies than I did today, because I have watched one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Buckle up, kids. This ride will be violent, the mood will be ugly, and the first 3 rows will get wet. This is my review of Madame Weeb.
Not you again. I remember all of my encounters with you, Madam Webb. I want nothing to do with you.
Madam Webb is a 2024 superhero movie without the superheroes that stars a body on a stick resembling Dakota Johnson. In it, a woman is blessed with the power to see the future and must use this gift to protect 3 young girls from an evil Spider-Man. I know what you're thinking. An evil Spider-Man? That sounds dope! No, don't do that. Don't give yourself hope. This is Madame Webb, a movie from the studio that brought us Morbius. There is no hope here. This is Sony's live-action sort of Spider-Man universe, where hope dies and dreams shatter. Before I do kill any hope you may have, let me plug my Patreon because I need more of you good, kind, and generous folks to help fund my channel. You can join the ranks of these absolute legends: John Borg, Juliano Toniato, James Gibbons, and Bradley Amiel Julian in the pantheon of super awesome people in the world. They have pledged a mere pittance every month, and by doing so, they assist me in bringing more content to you. If you would like to become a Patreon, check out the link in the video description below. You can do it for as little as $5 a month, and unlike Amazon Prime, I give you my word that I won't interrupt your content with commercials. Except this one. And now back to the puckering sphincter that is this movie. This sheer drivel of film, the lumbering, drooling stupidity that is Madame Webb, and the boxcar of bad decisions that went into its unholy creation. Surely you're thinking, this is hyperbole. Madame Webb can't possibly be that bad. Daddy Jason is just exaggerating for the views. Nay, nay, dear friends, Madame Webb is indeed that bad. This movie is like a small rock in a box of cereal just waiting to break your teeth. This movie is a zit on prom night that is waiting to burst right into your crush's face while her mouth is open. This motion picture is unexpected diarrhea at a pool party just after someone removed all the ladders that you would use to climb out. It's all the pain of testicular torsion, but without the benefit of a funny anecdote afterwards. Simply put, Madame Webb is not only the worst movie I've seen this year so far, it's likely going to be the worst movie I've seen in all of 2024. No, I can't see the future like the title character of this tragedy of a movie, but I know this is going to happen, simply because I cannot begin to fathom how another movie can be assembled in a more incompetent and insulting manner. I really hope I don't eat these words. I don't know if I have the strength for something worse. No. No! In Madame Webb, Dakota Johnson plays a paramedic who suddenly starts getting visions of the future thanks to her dead mother being bitten by a mystical spider while she was pregnant with her. That's a whole thing, and it's explained in the movie. Not very well. I don't want to get into it here, though, because it's stupid. Thanks to this power, she learns that 3 random young girls are going to be murdered by an evil Spider-Man that is destined to be murdered by them later in the future. Yeah. So she's saving girls from a murderer so that they can murder someone later. Talk about putting off a problem until later. Sorry, but this can be a problem for future Madam Web. Like this movie's gonna get sequels. Oh, and speaking of the future, this also takes place 20 years in the past. So if you were expecting actual Spider-Man, I question your intelligence. But also, you're not getting him. You're getting a little bitty baby. Doesn't even shoot web or crawl on the wall. I really think they missed an opportunity here. Would it have made sense? No. But at least it would have been something about this movie that would have been something. The only problem with Madam Web is everything. Nothing in this movie works. Everything about it is bad. Let's start with Dakota Johnson. To say she phoned in her performance is an insult to the entire telecommunications industry. Johnson didn't just phone in her performance. I think she sent it on several poorly written postcards with bad penmanship, and 3 of them got lost in the mail. She is so unbelievably disengaged from this movie that her performance in any scene basically boils down to this. I know you don't believe me, but I can see the future and you're in danger and you have to come with me. I also don't care about you and don't want you to be my problem. Now come with me so I can save your life. She honestly sounded like Jan Brady from the Brady Bunch. The Spider-Man's going after Marcia. It's always going after Marcia. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Again, you may be thinking, well, Zaddy Jason is just saying that Dakota Johnson is that wooden because it's rage bait and he wants to drive up his views, and honestly, yeah. But some rage bait is an exaggeration, and I can assure you, Dakota Johnson really and truly is that bad. She's so bad, it's fascinating. How bad does a movie star have to be before they're fired? Honestly, I think she was purposely being bad so she could get out of her contract, but the directors and writers were all like, "We make good movies!" And Johnson just slowly died on the inside. I seriously think you can see where she gave up the will to live and just gave up on life altogether. It's right after the beginning of the second act. But honestly, I kind of think she deserves it in the first place for agreeing to be in this movie at all. What's that? A movie based on a Spider-Man character only a handful of nerds know about that doesn't have any actual Spider-Man in it? That sounds awful! How much money are you going to give me? However, no matter how bad Dakota Johnson is in this movie, no matter how stiff and emotionless she gets, no matter how many flat and lifeless line readings escape her unbothered lips, she's not the worst performer in Madam Web. Amazingly enough, that dubious honor goes to Tahar Rahim, who quite literally ruins every scene he's in. In addition to having some of the worst ADR I have ever heard, ADR that sounds so bad, it's like it was recorded on an iPhone in a truck stop bathroom after it got dropped in the toilet, Rahim's delivery of every line is comical. Or at least it would be if he were funny. He's like Mojo Jojo without the charisma. Every shred of dialogue that drops out of this antagonist's mouth serves to remind us that the trio of girls that this evil Spider-Man is after are going to kill him in the future, and he wants to kill them first. Scene 1. I can see the future, and in the future I am murdered by these girls. I must kill them before they kill me. Scene 2. Since these girls will kill me in the future, I must find them and kill them first, so they in turn cannot murder me in the future. Scene 3. I die in the future at the hands of these girls, and therefore I must kill them before they kill me in the future. Scene 4. I must find these girls and kill them, because if I don't, they will kill me in the future, and I will be dead, unless I find these girls and make them dead first so I don't die, in the future where the girls are going to kill me. Every single scene he brings this up. It's like the movie doesn't respect the audience's intelligence and thinks that our brains can't hold on to this simple but crucial information. But then again, we did pay to see Madam Web in the first place, so Yeah, that's not boding well for our intelligence. I mean, how freaking smart could we be? Not only does Tahar Rahim turn in a god awful performance as the evil Spider Man, his presence on screen is nearly non existent, in or out of costume. The whole idea of an evil Spider Man should have been a no brainer, but he's presented in the most bland, non scary ways. He's just a guy in a bad Halloween costume. The movie has absolutely no sense of presentation. The first time we see the guy, he's literally crawling on the ceiling towards Madame Web and her charges in the most flat and non threatening way possible. And I swear, I don't think his feet and hands were actually even touching the ceiling thanks to bad line work. Now, admittedly, I would have to go back and watch the scene again to make sure, but I don't want to. When the evil Spider-Man attacks, it's PG-13ified to the point that the violence and deaths are inconsequential. It's like watching a cartoon. Simply put, this movie failed in the most elementary way possible. It forgot to make its villain feel dangerous. I mean, come on. When you hit your bad guy with a car twice, he starts coming off like an idiot. Because he is. An idiot with a negative drawing power. Speaking of negatives, let's talk about this trio of girls that Madame Web is trying to save in this movie. A trio of the most unlikable, spoiled, entitled, stupid characters you will ever see in your entire life. Put yourself in these girls' shoes. Some woman who can see the future saves you from an evil Spider-Man, steals a cab for you, drives you to safety out in the middle of the woods, and then tells you to stay put for 3 hours so you can investigate a convenient lead. Do you A, stay in the woods where she told you to because you don't want to die, or B, walk to the nearest diner and make a spectacle of yourself by dancing on the table for boys? Given that this is Madame Web, you know the correct answer is A, but you also know that the movie went with B. And honestly, when you're almost murdered by a guy with superpowers in a world where no one knows about superpowers yet, wouldn't you be shaking your tush in front of a bunch of cute boys a couple of hours later and not trying to process the life-altering, traumatic event that just befell you? I mean, come on! Cute boys! I would say that the movie eventually evolves these girls to be less horrible, but it doesn't. Like most poorly made things constructed without care and common sense, these awful children have a switch flipped in their heads and then suddenly become better people. Because movie. Did that scene in the trailer where all three girls were suited up as Spider-Women at least get you interested? Maybe we'll have a Spider-Women finale. Well, take that hope and shove it! Because 90% of the Spider-Women in the movie is in the trailer. They are literally in the movie less than 3 minutes, and it looks so stupid and cheesy. That's right, take all that hope, roll it into a tight little ball, and shove it! Because that's what Madame Web does. It destroys all hope in everything. There is no point to life. There is no love. Madame Web has consumed it and covered the world in a thick, slippery layer of the most rancid feces your wicked imagination can conjure. Speaking of crap, this brings up another issue with Madame Web, and that is that you really have no one to root for in this film. The girls, as I said, are awful, poorly written characters who, as an audience member, I didn't care if they ended up as a bloody stain on evil Spider Guy's fist. And Madame Web herself isn't really that much better. She's written to be as off-putting as possible, as though she's the kind of person who would attend parties for the sole reason of ruining them just to show how much better she is than everyone else. Which she does, by the way. When she starts protecting the girls, she makes it clear multiple times that she doesn't want to do it, which begs the question, then why are you? Even Madame Web's powers are subject to change when needed, as we see in the forehead-slapping finale of this movie, when her powers literally do a deus ex machina because the movie wrote itself into a corner and the writers were too stupid to figure out what to do next. I haven't even talked about the editing yet. It's so bad I can't even call it terrible. It's catastrophic. It's abhorrent. It's distracting and looks so amateurish. I felt like I was being jerked from scene to scene. as though the movie was bored along with me and just wanted to end itself as quickly as possible. Oh wait, did I mention that Adam Scott is in this movie as Ben Parker, Peter Parker's uncle? Well, Adam Scott is in this movie playing Ben Parker, Peter Parker's uncle, and, well, he's absolutely wasted, which should come as no surprise. His scenes are cringy, and you honestly just feel bad for the guy. So we have a movie where awful people say awful dialogues in an awful story. I'm racking my brain right now trying to come up with one positive thing to say about Madam Web, and I just keep coming up empty. Maybe some of the ideas were good initially, like the idea of an evil Spider-Man, but it's executed in the worst possible way. I like the idea of a character whose only superpower is foresight, but they never show it used in an interesting way, and they don't even stick to that power when it gets inconvenient. And that's it. Small nuggets of ideas floating in a warm plasma of absolute garbage. Sony is so desperate for their own Spider-Man universe that they've jumped the gun twice and stepped on a rake. Sony hasn't done a good live-action Spider-Man in 20 years. You heard what I said. They should just cut their losses, keep Miles Morales for his animated movies, and just give Peter Parker and his gallery of villains back to Marvel, who, while not perfect, wouldn't have even considered something as testy, shrivelingly awful as Madam Web. If Kraven the Hunter sucks this bad, just give it up, Sony. Just give it up. Stop trying to make a Spider-Man cinematic universe happen, okay? It's not going to happen. But now I want to hear from you. The wind whispers stories of those who actually enjoyed this film. Are you one of the ones that legends speak of? Tell me in the comments. Why? Why did you like this movie, and what medication are you on? While you're there, and if the voices in your head will let you, consider subscribing, liking the video, and becoming a Patreon to the channel. I may not have powers of forethought like Madam Web, but I at least warned you from wasting your time with this towering mound of frog dung, and that should be enough to at least earn a follow. And of course, be sure to join us next time to find out what Jason, what? And of course, be sure to tune in next time to find out what Jason watches.